Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvi Navadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So welcome back to one more session. So we covered quite a bit of ground yesterday. We did the 10th chapter. So the 10th and 11th chapters are the 10th talks about the vibhuti, the splendor of the Supreme, and the 11th talks about the Vishwarupa Darshana, or the universal form. So it's a lot of description and less of philosophical content compared to the other chapters. So therefore, we don't have to dwell too much on every shloka. We can move a little quickly. So I think we covered probably it's our record yesterday. We covered a lot of ground within one class. Even today, we'll be covering fair amount of ground. Then once we go to the 12th chapter, again, it will get on to a slightly slower pace because again, there's a lot of philosophical details coming in. Let me share my screen. Okay. So we had done this, right? So the Supreme is both the one responsible for both death and for birth. And among women, all these noble qualities. Krishna then continues, Brihat Sama Tatha Samnam Gayatri Chandasamaham Masanam Margashirshoham Rutunam Kusumakaraha. So, of all the mantras of the Samaveda, I am those that uniquely govern the mind, the Brihat Sama. Among poetic meters, I am the Gayatri Chandas. Among months, I am Margashirsha. And among seasons, I am spring. So, Tatha Samnam Brihat Sama. Among all the Samans. So, like you know, the four Vedas, Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, and Atharva Veda. Of these, the three Vedas, Rig Veda, Yajur Veda and Sama Veda are the older three, and they represent the three forms of expression I already mentioned. So Rig Veda is a verse, Yajus is prose, and Sama Veda is song. So among the three, Sama Veda is song, and in the Sama Veda there is this portion called the Brihat Saman, which uniquely govern the mind. So of the mantras of the Sama Veda, I am the Brihat Saman. Aham Chandasam Gayatri. Among all the various poetic meters, I am Gayatri Chandas. Gayatri is a very popular Vedic meter. We don't find it in classical poetry so much. It's similar to Anushtup, but it has got 3 lines with 8 syllables each. Anushtup has 4 lines. This has just 3 lines and 8 syllables. And the famous Gayatri mantra, which we all recite, is called Gayatri mantra because not only is it we are worshipping the deity Gayatri, but also it is in the Gayatri poetic meter. So that's the reason why it's called the Gayatri mantra, right? So just like how most of the Puranas, the Ramayana, Mahabharata, all of them have been composed in the Anushtup Shloka meter, the word Shloka itself got the meaning of a verse. Although Shloka is a particular kind of meter, like Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetre, Samaveta, Yutsavaha, that is in Shloka meter. But because so many verses are composed in that meter, the word Shloka itself became a general terminology for any verse. We say, oh, Shloka of Bhagavad Gita. It may not be in Shloka meter, but we say Shloka of Bhagavad Gita. So like that Gayatri Chandas is so popular in the Veda. Gayatri mantra is basically in Gayatri Chandas. Then Aham Masanam Margashirshaha. So Margashirsha is usually in today's thing, it is usually the time between December, January, what we call Margari in Tamil or Dhanur Masa in Kannada. So Margashirsha in the early days, it is a month which just comes before the winter solstice, and the year used to begin, the Hindu calendar used to begin with Margashirsha. So, therefore, it is considered as important, sacred. And Rutunam Kusumakaraha, among the seasons, spring, because spring, the season of spring is the most colorful. There's music in nature and enthusiasm, and there is completely everything gets very, very colorful. It's a new lease of life. At the end of Shishira, Hemanta Shishira, everything has gone down and in hibernation, and the whole world blossoms. So, spring among season. So, Brihat Sama Tatha Samnam,
बृहत्साम तथा साम्नां
Gayatri Chandasamaham,
गायत्री छन्दसामहं
Masanam Margashirshoham,
मासानां मार्गशीर्षोऽहं
Rutunam Kusumakaraha.
ऋतूनां कुसुमाकरः
Dyutam Chalayatamasmi, Tejas Tejasvinamaham, Jayosmi Vyavasayosmi, Sattvam Sattvatamaham. So, of all forms of deception, I'm gambling. I am the splendor of the splendid. Of success, I am effort. I am the goodness of the good. So, Chalayatam Dyutam Asmi. So, among all forms of deception, the best is gambling. And the reason is because everybody has an equal chance at winning. So, one idea is that the Supreme is all pervasive, whether it is good, bad, ugly, everything is pervaded by the Brahman. Even in the bad, even in the lowly forms, the most dharmic, the one which is the best of the, even the among the worst. So, like he said, among daityas, even daityas are part of Brahman. Among the daityas, I am Prahalada, the best of the daityas, the most dharmic of the daityas. Similarly, among all the forms of deception, Dutam is one where everybody has an equal opportunity to win, and based on your luck, it offers great material gain. So, among gambling, I am among the deceptions, I am gambling. Aham Tejasvinam Tejaha. Among the radiant ones, I am radiance. I am the splendor of the splendid. Jayaha Asmi. I am uh, uh, Jayaha Asmi Vyavasayaha. Right? So, among, uh, uh, you know, uh, Jayaha is victory. When it comes to victory, I am the effort that goes into victory. So, in success, the most important thing is the effort that we put, right? So, there are so many factors to success, but the most important thing and what is under our control is our effort. So, the greatest thing in success is the effort. Jayaha Asmi Vyavasayaha. Then Aham Sattvatam Sattvam Asmi. So I am the goodness of the good, the nobility of the noble. So those who are endowed with Sattva, I am Sattva. I am that goodness in them. So Dyutam Chalayatam Asmi.
द्यूतं छलयतामस्मि
Tejas Tejasvinamaham.
तेजस्तेजस्विनामहं
Jayosmi Vyavasayosmi.
जयोऽस्मि व्यवसायोऽस्मि
Sattvam Sattvavatamaham.
सत्त्वं सत्त्ववतामहं
Sattvam Sattvavatamaham. Yes. Then Vrishninam Vasudevosmi Pandavanam Dhananjayaha Muninam api aham Vyasaha Muninam apyaham Vyasaha Kavinam Ushana Kavihi. So again he continues, among the Vrishnis I am Krishna, among the Pandavas I am Arjuna, among the sages I am Vyasa, among the Kavis, among the poets, seers I am Ushanas. So Vrishninam Vasudeva Asmi. Among all the Vrishnis, I am Vasudeva. Vasudeva is son of Vasudeva, which is Krishna. I am Krishna among all the Vrishnis. Pandavanam Dhananjaya. I am Arjuna of all the Pandavas. Muninam api aham Vyasaha. Among all the Munis, among all the sages, I am Vyasa. Kavinam Ushana Kavihi. Among all the great poets, yes, I am Ushanas or Shukracharya, who was the teacher of the Daityas. So Vrishnis are an ancient clan, and Pandavas are the sons of Pandu. You know that. Vyasa, we know he's the composer of the Mahabharata. So among all these people, I am the best of the best. So he can, maybe if Krishna was here today, he will say, among students, I am the students of this Bhagavad Gita class, the best of the best. So among all companies, I am one some whatever Amazon, Google. Among mobile phones, I'm Samsung. So like that, he the best of the his identity, the supreme being is identifying as the best of uh, whatever is there, right? So among all the drinks, I am water. So like that, he will identify with the best of whatever of anything which is there. So we can easily extrapolate this. Now, Krishna has used examples that are familiar to Arjuna, but we can extrapolate this to today and see whatever is the best of the best, best of everything is the supreme being. So that way we are able to connect with it much easier. It is not an abstract idea any longer. So, Vrishninam Vasudevosmi,
वृष्णीनां वासुदेवोऽस्मि
Pandavanam Dhananjaya,
पाण्डवानां धनञ्जयः
Muninamapyaham Vyasaha,
मुनीनामप्यहं व्यासः
Kavinam Ushana Kavihi.
कवीनामुशना कविः
Then Dando Damayatam Asmi, Nitirasmi Jigishatam, Maunam Chaivasmi Guhyanam, Jnanam Jnanavatamaham. So, of law enforcements, of the different methods of law enforcement, I am punishment. Of the paths to victory, I am statesmanship. Of secrets, I am silence. Of the wise, I am wisdom. So, Damyatam Dandaha Asmi. Damayatam Dandaha Asmi. So, of all the ways to control and enforce the law, so Damyata or Damana means to control, to regulate, right? So, of all the methods of law enforcement, Dandaha Asmi. So, in the traditional Indian system, there are four methods of law enforcement traditionally, right? So one is called Sama. Sama means gentle persuasion. Whenever we are faced with any problem, the first we have to try is Sama, gentle persuasion, requesting people, why don't we do this? Let us not have an argument. Let us try to sort it out in a normal course, by doing some remedial measures and this kind of Sama. The second type is called dana, which is offering an incentive or giving a bribe or giving some material, exchange. So, okay, I'll give you 100 rupees. Let us, sort this out. Or I will give some part of my land. Let us not have an argument. This kind of thing to avoid. Then Bheda is manipulating behavior, is creating dissension in the enemy ranks. And if everything fails, danda, which is punishment. Because of all these four, danda is the one which is sure to work or which has a high probability of working. Just take a few minutes of detour here. When the Pandavas and Kauravas had an impasse after the 13 years of war, 13 years of exile, the forest 12 years of Vanavasa and 1 year of Ajnatavasa, staying in incognito. After that period of time, they had the rightful share of their kingdom. They go back to Duryodhana and ask him, and he refuses to give them. So, what is the first thing that they try to do? They send some emissaries, it fails, and finally Krishna goes as a peace broker, trying to broker peace between the two cousins. Krishna tells Dhritarashtra, you are from such a noble race. It will be a pity if a person of your standing makes this kind of foolish mistake and refuses to give, the rightful share to his brother's children. You are from a noble family, and you are from such a family where your ancestors are such people. When other people were sad, they will cry. If other people are happy, they will feel delighted. That is the sort of empathy all these kings from the Kuru dynasty had. And you being such a scion of this dynasty, why are you doing this? And so gentle persuasion. So Duryodhana says, nothing doing. Will not give anything. By some foolish mistake, my father gave this thing, but I will not give anything. So Sama failed. Next, Dana. Okay, you don't have to give the entire kingdom. Just give 5 villages, one village for each of the 5 Pandavas. Just give 5 villages. So he's relinquishing the entire kingdom, whatever Varanavarta, Indraprastha, all that which was earlier theirs. He said, okay, doesn't matter. Just let everything go. We'll take 5 villages, small villages, and we will take care of that. Rest of the kingdom you have. So Dana is basically an incentive, a material gain. Duryodhana says, no, nothing doing. Then what Krishna does? He uses Bheda. He accuses Bhishma and Drona and all these people, Kripa, of siding with the wrong people. He tells them that where is your heart? You are siding with this rogue who is, like a intoxicated elephant and so on. Then he tries to bring Karna onto his side. He tells Karna the secret of his birth, that you are actually Kunti's son. You come to this side, you will be made the king because you are older than Yudhishthira. You are the best guy, etc., etc. And he tries to create confusion in the ranks. Then finally, that also fails. Karna doesn't come here. There is no major problem. It has certain effect, but even then, not much of impact. So finally, war has to be fought, danda, and that's the kind of the punishment that he has to give. So like this, if you see in the traditional Indian scenario, the kings were expected to follow this policy. That is why even in the Ramayana, if you remember, Vali's son Angada will go and send a message of peace from Rama after the bridge is built across the ocean and they storm Lanka. First thing Rama tells Angada is to go and talk to Ravana and try to strike peace. Okay, it's not too late. We have done the impossible. We have built a bridge across the ocean. We have stormed your capital. Even now, it's not too late. Give back Sita honorably and don't pursue this line further. You will be forgiven and we will just go back. Even at that point of time, if Ravana had said, oh, it is my mistake, I am sorry, and returned, Rama would have forgiven him and just gone back. He would not have he would not have taken a step further because he is bound by his word. He's an honest person. So much of bloodshed would have been avoided if this one person had changed his mind. But that didn't happen. So danda, direct punishment. So everybody is killed finally in Lanka. Similarly, here also at the end of the Kurukshetra war, hardly a handful of people survive. Everybody is decimated. So danda is something which works. So sorry for the distraction, but I think you get an idea of the sama, dana, bheda, and danda a little better. Krishna says, Guhyanam maunam cha evasmi. So among all secrets, I am silence. Because the best way to maintain a secret is silence. So there is no word spoken, then the secret is maintained. So of all the secrets, I am silence. And jnanavatam jnanamaham. Of the wise people, I am the wisdom. Dando damayatam asmi.
Dando damayatam
Nitirasmi jigishatam.
Nitirasmi jigishatam.
Maunam chaivasmi guhyanam.
Maunam chaivasmi guhyanam.
Jnanam jnanavatamaham.
Jnanam jnanavatamaham.
So one line I forgot here. He says, Jigishatam nitihi asmi. So among the paths to victory, Jigishatam, desirous of victory. Among the paths to victory, Nitihi. I am Niti. I am statesmanship. I am the the royal path of statesmanship. Or Niti also means like political wisdom. It also means moral. It also means that which is noble. So all this in some like statesmanship. Among the paths to victory, I am statesmanship. Then he says, Yachapi sarva bhutanam bijam tadaham arjuna natadasti vina yatsyat maya bhutam characharam. So it becomes yatsyan maya bhutam characharam. If you split it, it becomes natadasti vina yatsyat maya bhutam characharam. So whatever is the source of all beings, I am that. Nothing animate or inanimate can exist without me. So Arjuna, Sarva Bhutanam Yat Bijam. What is the source? What is the seed of all beings? Tat Api Aham. I am indeed that. Maya Vina, without me, without my presence. Chara Achara, Chara Charam. What is mobile, immobile, or animate, inanimate? Vina, Maya Vina, without my intervention, Maya Vina, Chara Charam Bhutam. All the beings, inanimate or animate, yat syat tat nasti. It cannot exist without me. It's not without my presence. None of these would be there. So all pervasive being. Yat chapi sarva bhutanam
यच्चापि सर्वभूतानां
bijam tadaham arjuna
बीजं तदहमर्जुन
na tadasti vina yat syat
न तदस्ति विना यत् स्यात्
maya bhutam characharam.
मया भूतं चराचरम्
नान्तोस्ति मम दिव्यानां विभूतीनां परन्तप एष तूद्देशतः प्रोक्तो विभूतेर्विस्तरो मया. So Arjuna, whatever I've told you is just a brief illustration of my infinite, countless attributes, because there is no end to my divine manifestations. So Parantapa, scorcher of enemies, great warrior. This is addressed to Arjuna. Mama divyanam vibhutinam antaha nasti. There is no end to my divine powers and attributes and manifestations. Maya eshaha, by me, this vibhutehe vistaraha tu uddeshataha proktaha. I've told you this with intentionally an illustrative example because there is no end to this. So I have chosen, selected few of the thing and told you which is relevant to you. So nantosti mama divyanam
नान्तोऽस्ति मम दिव्यानां
vibhutinam parantapa
विभूतीनां परन्तप
esha tuddeshatah prokto
एष तु उद्देशतः प्रोक्तो
vibhuter vistaro maya.
विभूतेर्विस्तरो मया.
Finally, he says, Yad Yad Vibhutimat Sattvam Srimad Urjitameva va Tattadevavagachatvam Mama Tejomsha Sambhavam. So, all that is endowed with glory, grace, and grandeur has sprung from a mere flare of my radiance. Yad Yad, all those things, Vibhutimat Srimat Urjitam. So, Vibhutimat, which has got grandeur, which has got splendor, Srimat, which has got richness and glory, Urjitam, which has got energy and power, Eva va, indeed, Sattvam, Tat, and Sattvam, which is endowed with goodness and nobility, Tat eva mama tejomsha sambhavam. So all those things indeed have come from Tejo Amsha. Amsha is like a small part of, so a small part, a mere flare of the radiance of the Tejas. So iti, this, thus, tvam avagacha. So know this, realize that all these things which are endowed with glory and grace and grandeur and goodness has sprung from a mere flare of my radiance. Yadyad vibhutimat sattvam
यद्यद्विभूतिमत्सत्त्वं
श्रीमदूर्जितमेव वा
श्रीमदूर्जितमेव वा
एवावगच्छत्वं
तत्तदेवावगच्छत्वं
मम तेजोंश संभवम्.
मम तेजोंशसम्भवम्.
Then finally he says, Athava bahunaitena kim jnatena tavarjuna vishtabhyaham idam kritsnam ekamshena sthito jagat. But what is the use of all this information, Arjuna? Just remember that I stand holding the entire cosmos with a fraction of my divine splendor. So Arjuna, Athava etena bahuna jnatena tava kim? What is the use of any more information? All these are just details. So why are you? It's not really. I mean, I just told you because you asked me, but this is not really important. These are all just details. What is really important? Aham idam kritsnam jagat. This entire cosmos, this entire universe, aham ekom shena vishtabhya sthitaha. Just by a small fraction, a small flare of my divine splendor and radiance, I am supporting the entire cosmos. Titaha, I stand holding the entire cosmos. So Arjuna asked Krishna for different ways by which he could relate to the Supreme. Therefore, Krishna uses those examples which Arjuna is familiar with. Right? So if Krishna said that something among all the Fortune 500 companies, I am Google or something like that, Arjuna would not know that, right? So he uses all the examples that Arjuna is familiar with. And today, if somebody is interested, we can use examples that people today are familiar with. But the real import of this entire chapter, he says in the second half, he says in this so one half of this verse, that the focus should be on the sublime and not on the mundane. It is important to understand the spirit that the supreme being is the splendor of the splendid, is the greatest of whatever set we choose. The best of that is the supreme. So that is the message rather than getting into smaller details. Athava bahunaitena
अथवा बहुनैतेन
kim jnatena tavarjuna
किं ज्ञातेन तवार्जुन
विष्टभ्याहम इदम कृत्स्नम
इष्टभ्याहमिदं कृत्स्नम्
एकांशेन स्थितो जगत.
एकांशेण स्थितो जगत्.
So with this we come to the end of the 10th chapter. Now the 10th chapter is very interesting because it's very easy to relate to it. So 10th chapter is something which is got a lot of visual information for us. So it's very easy for us to relate to it because among all the Adityas, I am Vishnu, among all the Rudras, I am Shankara, and so on. So he's given so many examples. So it becomes easy for anybody to visualize and relate. The basic lay of this chapter is talking about the glory of the Supreme Being, Bhagavan Sri Krishna in this case. But as he mentions that Ahamatma Gudakesha, that he is the, you can take it as Sri Krishna, you can take it as Supreme Brahman or the Atma, whatever, all these things are synonymous. So the way in which we can relate to something, we can choose that. That option is always there in our tradition. What are the main things that are covered in this chapter? That the Supreme Being, the Bhagavan, is beginningless and non-attached. So there is no beginning, no end, and no attachment to the world. Then Prakriti's artifice of opposites. So Prakriti is running the nature. Prakriti means nature. Nature operates this entire scheme of things with the Brahman being a supervisor for this whole play which is happening here. Then third is the Buddhi Yoga. Buddhi Yoga, like I mentioned, is the path of discretion, what we call Viveka, is something where we have the ability to discriminate between what is right and what is wrong, the ability to discern what is temporary, what is permanent. So this decision making ability is very important for all of us, even in mundane activities. Now, if there are two things that your child has done incorrectly, what is that you will hold as a grave, a more important thing to talk about? So, for example, this exhibit A is that your son or daughter has got like 17 out of 25 in their term exam or something like that. And on the other side, caught stealing some candy from the store. So you have to discriminate. If you give the same sort of punishment to both these mistakes or both these scenarios, then the child will not realize that one is more a moral failure and other is a failure of effort. So the parent will take a certain, invariably, the parent will say, well, stealing is like totally non-negotiable. It's okay if you scored low in an exam, you can work hard and do better, but this is non-negotiable. And this is something you cannot, there's no way you can do this. So then the child also cultivates that discretion. Now, if I have forgotten my mobile phone at home and I'm rushing to meet somebody, for some some meeting. Now, should I go back home to get my mobile phone, or should I continue and go and meet my friend? There's no right answer. It depends on how badly you need your phone. But these are the kind of situation where you have to take a certain decision. Now, this is an easy decision to make, but when it comes to a moral decision, like in the case of in the Mahabharata, we find what does Bhishma or Drona or Kripa do when they are faced with this moral dilemma? They choose to go with the people who have taken care of them, the Kauravas, rather than going with what is right, which is dharma. So when we are faced with moral dilemma, it's very important for us to have this buddhi yoga, this viveka that helps us identify right from wrong. And once we have that viveka, we know what is right and wrong. The next step is implementing that. There's no use just knowing right and wrong. You have to also tread that right path. That is what makes a difference. Otherwise, even Duryodhana knows what is right and wrong, but he chooses to go on the wrong path. Then finally, the major portion of the 10th chapter is people who are wanting to relate better to the Supreme Being. A lot of discussion about what is, what are the different ways in which we can relate to the Supreme Being. So let's quickly see some of the interesting verses. We also saw this idea that when we say Ishvara or the supreme controller, the supreme being, that we have seen that the Bhagavad Gita defines the Ishvara as the inner controller of the universe in one of the verses, Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma, in the 5th chapter. But Ishvara or the supreme being is unmodified by the universe. And everything resides in Ishvara, but he remains unattached. So the universe is the abode of the jiva, and the jiva is trying to attain that Brahman consciousness. Brahman is sort of this overseer and trying to observe what is happening, but the responsibility of trying to attain the higher level resides with the jiva. So every individual is responsible to elevate himself or herself. Krishna starts off by saying that, it's the devas and maharishis also don't know my origin, and I am the source of everything, the supreme lord, without beginning, without end. And only person who understands this entire concept, the whole realization of the greater force that governs the universe, has true understanding. And once a person realizes that there is a greater force, a greater being that runs the cosmos, whether it is true or not in a scientific sense, what happens when we cultivate that greater, the vision of the greater being, is that we tend to become less wicked. If we believe that there is a supreme being controlling the universe and it is taking care of all the beings, then we tend to be more humble. We tend to be more honest. Like I told you, if you are in the presence of somebody, you are different as opposed to when you're all by yourself. The moment somebody else is there with you, and especially when the other person is more respectable, is older to you, is a person you regard highly, is a person who is very knowledgeable or very wealthy or very influential and so on, naturally we tend to put on our best behavior. But imagine if you are able to cultivate the presence of Supreme all the time, then every moment we are on the best behavior. Every moment we are in control of our actions, of our words, our thoughts. So then what happens? We are slowly moving towards that ideal state. because we are cultivating the presence of the divine. So therefore, I always say that whether you believe, whether you have some evidence for the supreme being, whether God exists or not, in the level of adhibhuta, which is the material truth, it is immaterial. It is in the sense, it doesn't matter. I don't need to have a theorem that can prove in some 17 steps that God exists or doesn't exist, because this is a way of thinking which is applicable to the material world. Here we are dealing with the Adhi Daiva, which is the world of emotion, the world of beliefs, which has its own different set of rules and regulations. And the moment you believe it, and you sincerely believe it to be true, that automatically changes your external behavior. So whether somebody believes in the supreme being or not, I cannot tell from looking at them. It's probably very difficult, if unless they have some lalata lanchana, or they're wearing some, if they're just wearing normal shirt and pant like me and sitting in front of me, I can definitely not predict whether it believes in God or doesn't believe in God. But the manner in which they behave, the manner in which they speak, we can get a sense that this is this person working because he has to work, or is this person working because he has got this inspiration? So people working with inspiration is different from people who are just working, that we can see. So this inspiration, whether you take inspiration from nature, whether you take inspiration from your ancestors, whether it is from the supreme Brahman, formless God, or you're taking inspiration from a specific deity like Hanuman or Ganapati or Vishnu or Shiva or Devi. So specific deity is inspiring you, not any other deity, specific deity. That is also, so you can see that in the manifestation of the person, in their behavior, in their words. So that is the reason why this is important. Then in the fourth and fifth shloka, he says all the various noble qualities of human beings: intellect, wisdom, clarity, forgiveness, truth, self-control, benevolence, equanimity, fulfillment, all these things, birth, death, courage, fear, everything is coming from the supreme being. And one who understands this, then he or she gets established in yoga. He talks a little bit about the nature of the bhaktas and people who are always focused towards the Brahman, who are cultivated the presence of the supreme. Then Arjuna asks, so please tell me, I want to hear more of your divine words. It's so nice to hear whatever you're saying. Please tell me more, because all the great seers, everybody have hailed you as the ultimate refuge, the greatest purifier, the supreme spirit, and so on. So tell me more about yourself, because really, neither the gods nor the enemies, nobody know you in its entirety. Now, sometimes we may know a person for many years because they are neighbors, or because we're working together, or generally some friends. But at some point of time, when they do, when they say things, or when they do things which are remarkable, suddenly we are in awe of them. We get surprised that, oh, he's able to do all these things. Somebody, for 20 years, we never knew that person was a good singer, and for whatever reason, somebody sings, and then you start asking, oh, but I didn't know you sing so well. How did you get into music? Who did you learn from? And so on and so on. You're interested. Until the time you never had a discussion about music with this person. But the moment you realize that this person has music in them, we get curious. Oh, how do you learn to sing? And so on and so on. Like that. So at this point of time, he realizes, oh, there's this Krishna is a great guy. Although he's a very close friend of Krishna, he has spent so many years with him, and they are the similar age. But this is the time slowly Arjuna is realizing that, well, this is not an ordinary guy. He's a super man. So we need to find out more about him, what is happening. So then he says, please tell me more about your power and glory. Tell me what all the things you have done, and what is your, how I can meditate upon you. And I feel like just not heard enough of what you have to say. And then from the 19th shloka onwards, Krishna starts talking about all the divine manifestations. So he says, there is no end to my divine manifestations. So I will just tell you a few prominent ones. So I am the true self seated in the heart of all beings. I am the birth, growth, and decay and death of all the beings. Among Adityas, I am Vishnu. Among the lights, I am the sun. Among the Maruts, I am Marichi. Amidst the stars, I am the moon. I am Samaveda among the Vedas. Among the Devas, I am Indra. Among all the Indriyas, I am the mind. Among the Rudras, I am Shankara. Among the Yakshas and Rakshasas, I am Kubera. Fire or Pavaka among the Ashtavasu, the eight Vasus. Among the mountain peaks, I am Mount Meru. And then I'm Brihaspati of priests, Kanda among war generals, ocean among the water bodies, Bhrigu of Maharishis, and of Agnyas, I am Japa. Among all the stationary objects, I am Himalayas, and so on and so on. He goes on to list all the different manifestations that can be seen in nature. Finally, he says, whatever is the source of all beings, I am that. Nothing animate or inanimate can exist without me. And what I have told you is simply a brief illustration of my countless attributes. But what is the use of all these things? Just remember, anything that is endowed with glory, grandeur, goodness, grace is whatever it has all these qualities has just come from a mere flare of my radiance. So I hold the entire cosmos with just a fraction of my splendor. So the complete awareness of the Supreme Being is given in this one half of a verse, that the entire cosmos I'm holding with a small fraction of my infinite brilliance. So don't worry about all these other details. So in this chapter, basically what he has said is all these, he has given an illustration of the various attributes of the Supreme Being. Now, Arjuna is interested to know what it will look like in if it is taking a physical shape. See, always it is very difficult for us to have an abstract understanding of things. When somebody just explains something, it is difficult to understand it. So it is only when we see something, when we have a physical view of things, when we are taking in something through our senses, we understand it better. So now what Arjuna wants to know is, can I have a vision of this universal form? So you said that you are all these things. How can I see this thing in flesh and blood, in 3D, 3D vision kind of thing? So that's what he starts off by saying. Arjuna says, Mad anugrahaya paramam guhyam adhyatma sangitam yat yaktvottam vachastena mohoyam vigato mama. So he first starts saying that you have graciously taught me the grand spiritual truth of the Supreme Self, and your words have cleared my delusion. I have no more doubts. So already from the first chapter, if you see Arjuna's state of mind, he has already come out of that despondency. By 11th chapter itself, even before, he is clear of the doubts. Now he says, your words have cleared my delusion. You have taught me whatever the spiritual truth, the grand spiritual truth, and I am clear. So, Mad anugrahaya paramam guhyam adhyatma sangitam yat vachaha tvaya uktam tena mama ayam mohaha vigataha. Mad anugrahaya, for the sake of to bless me. So very graciously, you've been very gracious to me. Mad anugrahaya paramam guhyam, the most secret, the most profound, adhyatma sangitam yat vachaha, this grand spiritual truth of the Supreme Self that you have said, that you have uttered. Tvaya uktam, by what has been told by you, tena, by that, mama ayam mohaha vigataha. As a result of your words, my delusion has been cleared. Arjuna uvacha.
Arjuna uvacha.
Mad anugrahaya paramam.
Mad anugrahaya paramam.
गुह्यमध्यात्म संहितं
गुह्यमध्यात्मसंज्ञितं
यत्त्वयोक्तं वचस्तेन
यत्त्वयोक्तं वचस्तेन
मोहोऽयं विगतो मम.
मोहोऽयं विगतो मम.
भवाप्ययौ हि भूतानां श्रुतौ विस्तरशो मया त्वत्तः कमलपत्राक्ष माहात्म्यमपि चाव्ययम्. You have taught me in detail about the origin and dissolution of everything, and also about your own imperishable majesty, grandeur. So, Kamala Patraksha is a address to Krishna. Kamala Patraksha means one who has eyes like the lotus leaf, beautiful eyes, basically, or lotus patra is leaf, but probably it refers to lotus petal. So, but something very beautiful eyes, basically. So, Kamala Patraksha, Bhutanam Bhavapyayau hi Vistarashah Tattvataha Maya Shrutau. So, you have told me, and I have Bhutanam Bhavapyayau hi Vistarashah. In great detail, you have told me about the origin and the dissolution of all beings, Bhutanam, in great detail, and you have given me the picture of reality. Avyayam Mahatmyam api cha Shrutam. So I have heard about your great nature, that your indestructible and imperishable nature and your greatness. I've heard about that as well. You have taught me. So Bhavapyayau hi Bhutanam
भवाप्ययौ हि भूतानां
श्रुतौ विस्तरशो मया
श्रुतौ विस्तरशो मया
त्वत्तः कमलपत्राक्ष
त्वत्तः कमलपत्राक्ष
माहात्म्यम् अपि चाव्ययम्. Sorry, माहात्म्यम् अपि चाव्ययम्.
माहात्म्यम् अपि चाव्ययम्.
Then the third and fourth should be taken together. So he says, evametad yathatatvam atmanam parameshwara drashtumicchami te rupam aishwaryam purushottama. So, want to see your form? He says, then manyase yadi tachakyam maya drashtumiti prabho yogeshwara tato me tvam darshayatmanam avyayam. So, we'll go to this first. So these two together, he says, magnificent Lord and Master of Yoga, now I wish to see you with all your divine splendor, just the way you have described it. So if you think it is possible for me to see your divine form, then please show it to me. So Parameshwara, the Supreme Lord, Purushottama, the best of all beings, Tvam Atmanam Yatha Atha Evam etatte aishwaram rupam drashtumichhami. So tvam atmanam yatha atha. So just how you have described this supreme self of yours, evam and etat te aishwaram rupam. So your grandeur, your splendor and this cosmic form, drashtumichhami. I desire to see, I wish to see you with all this divine splendor, just in the manner that you have described it to me thus far. So, Prabho, O Lord, Yogeshwara, this master of yoga, tat maya drashtum shakyam iti yadi manyase. If you feel, yadi manyase, if you think that that maya drashtum shakyam, it is possible for me to see that form, Tataha tvam avyayam atmanam me darshaya. So then please show me this indestructible form of yours. Avyayam atmanam, indestructible, imperishable, supreme form of yours. Then if you think that I can see it, then show it to me. So it is like this really great cosmic universal form. So I'm not sure whether I will be in a position to see it also, because it is like the like a grandeur of the sun. You can't see the sun directly in midday; it will spoil your eyes. So if it is possible for me to see, if there is some mechanism, if you can give me some 3D glasses or something with which I can see this, then if I can see it, then I would like to see it. That's what he says. So there's so much of humility in his words also. So evam etad yathattatvam
एवमेतद् यथा तत्त्वम्
atmanam parameshwara
आत्मानं परमेश्वर
drashtumichhami te rupam
द्रष्टुमिच्छामि ते रूपम्
aishwaram purushottama
ऐश्वरं पुरुषोत्तम
manyase yadi tat chakyam
मन्यसे यदि तच्छक्यं
maya drashtumiti prabho
मया द्रष्टुमिति प्रभो
yogeshwara tato me tvam
योगेश्वर ततो मे त्वं
darshayatmanam avyayam.
दर्शयात्मानमव्ययम्.
So then Krishna will reply, Sri Bhagavan Vacha, Pashyame Partha Rupani Shatashota Sahasrashaha Nanadhikani Divyani Nana Varnakritani Cha Varnakritini Cha Nana Varnakritini Cha Varna Akritini. So Arjuna, see my divine forms by the hundreds or by the thousands of many colors and shapes. So Partha, Shatashaha atha Sahasrashaha. So by the hundreds or by the thousands, Nana Vidhani, different forms, and Divyani, divine, the divine forms, the diverse and innumerable divine forms, Nana Varnakriti, so Varna Akriti. So different colors and shapes, innumerable colors. Varna is color, Akriti is shape. So different colors and shape. Chame Rupani Pashya. Look at my form. Look at my divine forms, which is by the hundreds or by the thousands, which got innumerable colors and shapes. So Sri Bhagavan Vacha.
श्री भगवानुवाच
Pashyame Partha Rupani
पश्य मे पार्थरूपाणि
Shatashotha Sahasrashaha
शतशोथसहस्रशः
Nana Vidhani Divyani
नानाविधानि दिव्यानि
Nana Varnakritini Cha
नानावर्णाकृतीनि च
Pashyadityan Vasun Rudran Ashvinau Marutastatha Bahunyadrishta Purvani Pashyascharyani Bharata. So behold many marvels never seen before. Look at all the Adityas, the Vasus, the Rudras, the Ashwins and the Maruts. So Bharata, again reference to Arjuna, so the descendant of Bharata. Adityan, the 12 Adityas. Vasun, the 8 Vasus. Rudran, the 11 Rudras. Ashwinau, the 2 Ashwini Devatas, or the divine physicians, the twins who are divine physicians of the gods, and they are witness of all religious rituals. Tatha Marutaha. Maruta is a group of storm gods. I think there are some 49 Maruts, or wind god, basically. Rudra is storm gods. The Maruts are the wind gods. Pashya, see. So Adityan, Vasun, Rudran, Ashwino, Tatha, Marutaha, Pashya. See all these. And Adrishta Purvani. So Adrishta, not seen Purvani before, never seen before. Bahuni, several. Ascharyani Pashya, several wonders never seen before. So, there's so many marvels which I've never seen before. For the first time, you're seeing. So, of this, you can see the Adityas, the Vasus, and so on. So, Pashyadityan Vasun Rudran,
पश्यादित्यान् वसून् रुद्रान्
Ashwinau Marutastatha,
अश्विनौ मरुतस्तथा
Bahunyadrishta Purvani,
बहून्यदृष्टपूर्वाणि
Pashyascharyani Bharata.
पश्याश्चर्याणि भारत
Ihaikastham Jagatkritsnam Pashyadya Sacharacharam Mama Dehe Gudakesha Yachanyad Drashtumichhasi. So, Now you can see in my body the assembly of the entire universe with every animate and inanimate being and whatever else you wish to see. Because the Supreme Brahman is all inclusive, it is all pervading. So whatever that exists, you can see here. He says Gudakesha, which is again epithet of Arjuna, because he has conquered sleep. Gudaka plus Isha, Gudakesha. Adya. Now, ekastham sacharacharam kritsnam jagat anyat cha yat drashtumicchasi tat iha mama dehe pashya. So, adya, now, ekastham sacharacharam. So, in one place, you can see the assembly of all animate and inanimate, kritsnam jagat, the entire universe. Anyat cha yat drashtumicchasi, and everything, anything else that you wish to see, whatever you wish to see, iha, here right now, mama dehe pashya, see in my body. So whatever you want to see, the entire animate, inanimate being, the assembly of the complete universe, you can see in my body, he says. So, ihaikastham jagat kritsnam
Ihaikastham jagatkritsnam
pashyadya sacharacharam
pashyadya sacharacharam
mama dehe gudakesha
mama dehe gudakesha
yachanyad drashtumicchasi.
yachanyad drashtumicchasi.
न तु मां शक्यसे द्रष्टुम अनेनैव स्वचक्षुषा दिव्यं ददामि ते चक्षु पश्य मे योगमैश्वरम्. You will not be able to see my universal form with your normal eyes. Therefore, I grant you divine vision. So, anena swachakshusha eva mam drashtum na shakyase. You will not be able to see swachakshusha with your own eyes. You will not be able to see me in this universal form. Mam drashtum na shakyase. You will not be able to see me. Te divyam chakshuhu dadami. I will grant you divine vision. Aishwaram me yogam pashya. See my grandeur and my yoga. See my divine form. See my universal form with these special eyes. So, like, you can't watch a 3D movie with normal eyes. You need 3D goggles. So, similarly, this universal form, it's not possible to see with normal eyes. You need divine eyes. Just like, for example, if something is expressed in a very poetic manner with a lot of poetic suggestion and literary embellishments, it is not possible to read that and understand it with a mind that is very literal. You need to have the eye of a poet. You need to have the eye of a connoisseur to understand and appreciate something which is written in a poetic manner. If you take it to be very literal, then you will miss out on the meaning, right? So that special vision is required to see anything. So similarly, if somebody is studying medicine or law or whatever, in every field there is a certain special eye with which you see. For example, the manner in which a copy editor reads a page of text is very different from the manner in which a lawyer will read a page of text. A lawyer will look at the page of text and pick out the most important features for the argument. A designer will look at a page of text and say how much of margin space is there, how much of line spacing is there, what kind of typeface has been used. Totally different. So, like this, everyone looks at it with their own eyes. So, to see the universal form, one needs special eyes. So, Krishna says, I will grant you that divine vision. Only then you will be able to see. Natu mam shakyase drashtum.
Natu mam shakyase drashtum.
Anenaiva swachakshusha.
Anenaiva swachakshusha.
Divyam dadami te chakshuhu.
Divyam dadami te chakshuhu.
Pashyame yogamaishwaram.
Pashyame yogamaishwaram.
Thank you, Hamsa. So here there's a question from Vibhu Bharadwaj. Is the divine vision here metaphor for Guru Diksha for Arjuna? Thus can we say Arjuna attained enlightenment? Well, I don't think Arjuna attained enlightenment, because if you see the rest of the Mahabharata, after the war and everything, he continues to behave in a very, very human manner. So definitely Arjuna doesn't seem to have attained enlightenment, but definitely Krishna's purpose was fulfilled to convince Arjuna to fight the war. And to that extent, there is this Guru Shishya relationship between Krishna and Arjuna, because in the second chapter itself, Arjuna says, I surrender at your feet. Please tell me what is right and wrong. He already has requested Krishna to guide him, and Krishna has taken the role of a mentor and guru. So that is quite clear. But whether Arjuna attained enlightenment or not is seriously doubtful when we see the Mahabharata. So only very few characters in the Mahabharata come across as really transcended all these things. The foremost, of course, is Bhagavan Sri Krishna, and a few other characters like Vidura, we find, who are really wise and enlightened. But the rest of the characters are all like us. We have our plus and minus. We have our high points and low points. Similarly, also in the Mahabharata. So, Bhishma, there's a question. Bhishma being the knowledgeable person, what stopped him from joining the Pandavas? Okay, this is a question from Arun Ji. Let us take it up tomorrow. We'll start with this. Bhishma is a good topic to start with tomorrow, and then we'll continue with the 11th chapter.